What are some of the most effective methodologies used in generating unhappy paths? And regarding what ifs, how do we know when it's enough?
I wish I could say, it's enough when you've done 3 unhappy paths. Like, I wish there was a blanket rule, but unfortunately there isn't. Again, it's like I said, it depends on what you're doing. So sometimes an unhappy path might be on a micro UI level, and it might literally just be the unhappy path is if they click this thing, then they're blocked because they can't go any further. Otherwise, it might be if you're really zoomed out and looking from a kind of like a service design or ecosystems perspective, it might be loads more unhappy paths because of where people have entered, where people are exiting, where they're dropping off, all that kind of stuff. You'll start generating a lot more there. So as I mentioned, I think some of the methodologies are, particularly from your own perspective, as you get into the rhythm of it, is please, if you're doing journey mapping or service blueprinting, just add in a risk row to consciously make yourself think about it. Then if you can, think about who you're designing for in terms of the user types. So what might they be doing? What might they be distracted by? What environment are they using it in? What's their context? Have they got a screaming child in the back of their car? Are they driving? Are they going to be distracted? All of these things you can start thinking of, even just yourself, like brainstorming. I'm going to hopefully try and bring out some tools over the next few months to try and help generate some of these, because I know at the moment, a lot of it is me just continually saying, just think about what can go wrong. And it's not as easy for everyone to be able to do that. I completely appreciate that people's brains work in different ways. And we want to try and make sure, okay, if I've gone through this checklist, then it's done. I've covered enough. But a lot of it is trying to tune yourself to always think about what can go wrong. We might not cover all the cases, and that is fine upfront. You might not think about, oh, well, we didn't realize that somebody would be using that thing with that hand or whatever. Those types of things you will probably be uncovering once the thing is out in the world and being actually used. We can't mitigate every single risk before we release something. We absolutely can't. But we can have a high confidence that what we are producing hopefully shouldn't be giving anybody a negative impact. People will always use things in ways that we don't expect. They will always misread something, and you will only learn that sometimes post-release, because as much as you can frame research questions, as much as you can test with as many people as you can, the real gold is then doing that evaluation and then trying to go back and alter your product to maybe see, okay, there's an unhappy path here that we didn't cater for. I don't feel like I really answered that fully. I kind of just said, I'll bring out some tools in a few months.
I wanted to throw in something here. With the heuristic evaluations, they have a severity rating. It will be interesting if you could categorize or give a risk a rating, right? So in the heuristic evaluation, this is how they've done it. Frequency, at which the problem occurs. Impact, is it easy or difficult to overcome? And then persistence. So that, I think rating that would make a lot of sense, because then you basically formulated it and you're like, okay, it's a 0 or a 5. And you can kind of plot or dot vote however you want and agree on a number. That makes a lot of sense, right?
We definitely do that, especially in where I am at the moment. We have a lot to do around clinical safety. As I mentioned, I do a lot with medications, and we do work with our clinical safety officer to look at things like what's the likelihood. And then we have this lovely coordinated table thing that we go through, and to be able to quantify it a little bit more. I think as much as we can take the subjectivity out of decisions, the better, to be honest. That's slightly different to obviously initial ideation, where you're trying to come up with some of these unhappy paths.
That's right. What kind of techniques do you use to share your discovery work into user behaviors with the wider product team or internal stakeholders and get people on board with your initial assumption? Ooh,
I do lots of different things. And I have done lots of different things across different types of jobs I've been in. So as I mentioned, I've been in kind of agencies and consultancies where you're like embedding into clients, whereas at the moment I'm more kind of in-house. So the processes are slightly different. If I'm doing a big discovery project in-house or something where it's more, at the moment, it's like generative research, it'll be very much looking at kind of standard process of here's all of our assumptions, here's our hypotheses, here's our riskiest assumptions, and are they kind of proved or disproved? And then what I'll do is, generally I love a Notion document, and my team love a Notion document. So what we'll do is, a lot of the time, if we're on a specific focus area, it'll be what's the user outcome we're trying to achieve, what's the business outcome we're trying to achieve, and then what's the risk associated to that, both risks to the user and risks to the business. So I'll always highlight it, and then I'll put things like, if it's a research project, it'll be high or low. Is this a high severity where people have interacted with it, or it's come up frequently? Is it low severity, or is it high frequency, low impact, all that kind of stuff. What I'll also do then is, before we actually do a discovery project, when we gather a lot of our assumptions, I've got this matrix, which isn't my own, but it's generally a likelihood versus impact matrix, and it can help you define what type of research you can do based on your assumptions. So if if it's low impact, low likelihood, low risk, it might be a case of, do you know what, we can ship, measure, and learn, versus high impact, high risk, something like that is, okay, we really need to do some qualitative research. So before we even do the research projects, discovery projects, and things like that, regardless of whether it's evaluative or generative research, we'll kind of have an approach, an understanding between all of us before we go in terms of, okay, what type of research do we need to do based on these assumptions? So I'm not just going off into my own research hole for a week or so and get everyone on board beforehand. And then when I'm presenting all of that stuff back, it's, okay, here's the things that actually we cannot ship this feature without addressing this problem because of X, Y, Z, or this one fairly confident that it's going to be fine, or actually we need to do some more research. So a lot of it is part of, maybe I'll do a research report. I don't know, maybe I'm just signing up to do more things now. Maybe I'll try and show some of the ways that I present risk across the whole process over the next coming months, which might be helpful to people.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. What methods have been successful for you in getting user input from a range of stakeholders considering risks? Unhappy Pass, Workshop, Async, Miro, something else?
Yeah, so definitely including lots of different people, because
Want to listen to the full conversation? Click the video on screen now. Subscribe to the channel if you want to join us live. Oh, wait. Okay, fine, you don't have to join us for the live stream, but if you like stuff like this, then click that subscribe button. I'll see you on the inside. Bye!